The first contraction didn't feel violent. It started like a slow pressure, deep and steady, as I sat folding tiny socks on a table that never belonged to me. I was 39 weeks pregnant, alone. Not just emotionally, but in every way that matters. My fiancé Daniel had died 6 weeks earlier. A drunk driver, one red light, and suddenly I was no longer someone's future. I was just someone in the way. I had nowhere else to go. So I came back here, my parents' house, not because I was welcome, but because they said, you can stay, for now. My mother avoids eye contact. My father never hides his disapproval. And Amanda, my older sister, still lives here doing nothing but treated like she's everything. I've been called dramatic, ungrateful, a burden. But let me ask you something. Have you ever needed help and the only door you could knock on was one that never opened for you before? If you've ever felt that kind of silence, the kind that answers pain with judgment, you might want to stay for this story. And if you do, tell me, where are you watching from? I'd love to know I'm not alone. This house smells the same. Lemon cleaner, dust, something old underneath. Not comforting, just familiar, like an old song you never liked but know by heart. My room is smaller than I remember. Colder too. The windows don't seal right. Wind whistles through the corners at night, like even the house doesn't want me here. Amanda lives in the biggest room upstairs. She's never moved out, never needed to. Spa appointments, beauty routines, and still somehow she's the golden one. My parents act like she's made of glass. And I'm made of noise, too loud, too emotional, too much. They say they took me in, but what they really mean is, you should be grateful we didn't say no. Sometimes I wonder if I hadn't lost Daniel, would they even have opened the door? He used to warm every space he entered. His voice, his laugh, his hands on my back when the world felt heavy. Here even the air feels colder without him. I whisper his name sometimes, just to hear something kind in the silence. The contractions came back, this time stronger. A slow ache rising through my spine like something ancient waking up. I placed both hands on the edge of the kitchen table. It shook a little under my grip. The socks I folded earlier had fallen to the floor. I couldn't bend to reach them anymore. I took a breath, then another. My belly tightened again, sharp and sure. It wasn't false labor. This was real. I looked down the hallway. The lights were off. The house was so quiet it felt wrong. "Dad," I called. My voice cracked barely above a whisper. No answer. Only the sound of the TV from the living room. It was Amanda's voice. She was listening to one of those loud online shows again. Something political. Something she didn't understand but liked to repeat. I tried again. Dad louder this time. Still no reply. The walls didn't care. Neither did the people behind them. Another pain hit. Deeper, sharper. I pressed one hand to my belly and leaned on the wall. Something was beginning, and no one was listening. I moved down the hallway. Slow, careful. One hand on my stomach, the other brushing the wall. The house creaked beneath my feet. Another wave came. This time it pulled me forward. I bent slightly, gasping through clenched teeth. It was real, and it was close. "Dad," I called again, louder now. The living room was glowing with blue TV light. I stepped in hoping, just hoping. He was on the couch, slouched, deep arms crossed, eyes half open. He looked at me like I'd broken something sacred. "Do you know what time it is?" he snapped. "Amanda's recording her podcast." "I'm in labor," I said. My breath trembled. "I think I need to go now." He didn't move. "You couldn't hold it till morning." His voice was flat, cold, tired of me. "It doesn't work like that," I whispered. I tried to stay calm, but my knees were starting to shake. "You always do this," he muttered. "Always making everything about you." He turned the volume up, didn't even look back. That's when I knew no one was coming. Not for me, not for the baby, not from this house. A sharper pain hit. I gripped the wall, knees bending. I couldn't stand straight anymore. The world tilted. "Dad, please," I said. I wasn't screaming, just asking. His footsteps came fast, heavy, angry. I looked up. "You've already taken too much from this house," he growled. "Now you want to ruin your sister's future too," Amanda stormed in, mascara wand still in hand. "You're doing this now," she yelled. "I have a brand interview in 10 minutes. She's doing it for attention," she hissed. She always ruins everything. It's not attention, I whispered. The baby's coming. That's when it happened. He grabbed my wrist, pulled hard. I stumbled. Get up, he barked. When I tripped, he didn't stop. His hand found my hair. My knees hit the tile. Cold, rough, my belly twisted. He dragged me to the door, opened it wide. Winter air rushed in. Go have your bastard in the street, he said. Then he yanked again. I screamed. No one stopped him. The porch scraped my skin, cold wood, sharp paint flakes. My knees burned. I curled forward, arms around my stomach. He let go. The door slammed behind me. Hard, final. The wind hit my face like a slap. A car slowed at the corner. Its headlights paused, then moved on. No one got out. I tried to sit up. My hands shook. Another contraction ripped through me, louder than my breath, louder than my thoughts. I looked at the window. A curtain shifted. My mother's face appeared for half a second, then disappeared again. Amanda stood just inside the glass, still holding her phone. She was laughing. This is why nobody loves you, she said. She didn't even raise her voice. Didn't need to. The curtain closed. And that was it. I was alone, on a porch that never felt like home, in labor, bleeding, begging the sky for someone, anyone. No one came, only the wind, and the sound of my own heartbeat. Slowing, I don't remember crawling down the steps. My palms were raw, my legs barely moved, but I made it to the sidewalk. I don't know how long I stayed there. Minutes, maybe more. The sky above was dark and still. Everything else kept moving. Then headlights. A car pulled into the driveway next door. I couldn't lift my head. I heard footsteps. Quick, light, then a voice close to my ear. Oh my God. Are you in labor? I nodded. That was all I could do. Her hands were warm. She smelled like coffee and old lotion. She didn't ask questions. She just moved. She opened her passenger door, helped me in, turned the heat all the way up. Her fingers held mine while she dialed. I saw what he did, she whispered. He could have killed you, both of you. Her name was Martha. A nurse, just off her shift, wrong time, right heart. She never let go. The hospital lights were soft, too soft. Everything else hurt, but the light didn't. They wheeled me in fast. Martha never left my side. She answered every question for me, held my hand when I couldn't speak. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. I don't remember the time, just the sound, his cry. He came out screaming, strong, whole. His skin against mine was warm and new. His eyes were Daniel's. I named him Eli, not after anyone, just the word. It felt like breath, because that's what he was. A breath I thought I'd never get, a chance I thought I didn't deserve. But there he was, mine. They cleaned him gently, wrapped him in blue and white, placed him in my arms. He blinked. I cried. Not because of pain, not even grief. It was something else. Something like beginning. And outside that room, no one waited. No flowers, no family, only Martha leaning by the door. The next morning, my phone buzzed. 10 missed calls, all from home. I didn't answer. I let the screen dim. Let the beeps pile up. I wasn't ready to hear their voices. Not yet. But curiosity wins sometimes. I played the first voicemail. It was my father. You overreacted, he said. Your sister had a big night. You ruined it. No mention of Eli. Not one word. Another message followed. I hope you're happy now, Amanda snapped. I had to cancel with the brand. You always make it about you. They didn't ask if I was okay. They didn't ask if he was okay. It was all about the mess I made, the trouble I caused. Martha came in quietly. She brought crackers and warm tea. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. Her kindness made their cruelty louder, like silence with a spotlight, like love standing beside absence. And for the first time, I didn't feel alone. On the third day, a nurse entered with papers. Discharge scheduled for noon, she said, smiling. I nodded, but my chest tightened. I wasn't ready. Not for the world, not for sidewalks, not for the idea of going anywhere near that house. I waited until Martha came back. She always did early, quiet kind. I asked her softly, is there any way I can stay just one more night? She looked at me for a long moment, then sat beside my bed. No medical reason, she said, but I'll talk to someone. That night, Eli slept soundly in his bassinet. I stayed awake staring at the ceiling. The thought of that porch, the cold air, the slammed door. I wrapped my arms around myself, not from cold, from fear, and from the memory of not being wanted. They gave me one more night. No machines, no tests, just space to breathe. And that was more healing than anything else. The next morning she came back. Same soft footsteps, same worn cardigan. Martha. She brought a banana, a granola bar, and apple juice. Balanced in one hand like it was nothing. But to me it was everything. No one else had brought anything. She picked up Eli without asking, held him like she already knew him. He didn't cry. He looked peaceful in her arms. She didn't ask about my parents, didn't ask why I was alone. She just rocked him gently and hummed something I couldn't place. I watched her from the bed. Tired, but safe. It was the first time in weeks I felt that word. I whispered, "Do you think I deserved it?" My voice cracked at the end. I didn't mean to ask, but the words slipped out anyway. She didn't flinch, didn't say yes, didn't say no. She kissed my forehead and whispered, "Nobody who deserves pain asks if they do." That stuck, more than anything else. When we were finally discharged, I didn't call home, didn't text, didn't even think about asking for a ride. Martha stood with me at the curb. The sky was gray soft with morning light. Eli was bundled tight against my chest. I held him like a secret I had finally earned. She touched my shoulder. "Where will you go?" I didn't know how to answer. I just looked down at Eli. Then she handed me a small paper. An address. Her handwriting. Simple. Straight lines. "The women's shelter," she said. "I volunteer there twice a month." Her voice was quiet, never pushing. "It's not perfect, but it's safe." I nodded. Not because I was sure, but because I had nothing left to lose, and maybe something to gain. We didn't say goodbye. I just walked, Eli against me, the paper folded in my coat, and for the first time in a long time, each step felt like it belonged to me. The shelter sat on a quiet street. Small porch, peeling paint, warm light through the windows. Inside, the air smelled like soup and laundry. Not fancy, but clean. Lived in. A woman at the desk smiled when she saw Eli, asked his name. Didn't ask mine, just handed me a blanket and key. The room had bunk beds, worn sheets, a drawer that stuck when I pulled it. But it was mine. They gave me formula. Diapers. A soft blue hat someone had knitted by hand. I held it like it was gold. That night, a woman in the bunk across from me whispered, "He looks like someone who's gonna rewrite your whole story." Her voice cracked. Mine did too. I didn't say much, just nodded. And for the first time since labor, I cried. Not from pain, not from fear, but from something I almost didn't recognize, hope. 3 weeks passed. Quiet days. Long nights, Eli learning to smile in his sleep. Then a letter came. No return address, but I knew the handwriting. My mother's cursive, perfect, polished cold. "We're worried sick," it said. "You've embarrassed the whole family. If you don't return soon, your room will be cleared." No mention of Eli, not a word. As if he didn't exist. As if I didn't. I folded the letter once, then again, slipped it under the mattress. Didn't reply. 2 more letters followed. Same tone, same threats, different paper. Each one stung a little less, like the poison was thinning, or maybe I was getting stronger, or just numb. The last line of the 3rd letter read, "Don't make this harder than it has to be." I laughed just once. They had no idea what hard looked like. After the letters stopped, the voicemail started. One from my father, "You can't hold a grudge forever." It's childish. His voice was flat, like nothing ever happened, like I had just gone for a walk and forgot to come home. Another from Amanda, "You ruined my career. I had to reschedule 3 times with the brand." All because of your drama. She made it sound like I did it on purpose, like giving birth alone was a choice, like bleeding on their porch was an inconvenience. And then the voicemail that cracked something deep inside me. "You should be grateful we didn't call the cops for trespassing," my father said. "That's still our house. You had no right to bleed all over our porch like that." I held the phone like it was fire. Tears didn't come, not this time, just silence, thick, heavy, and alive. I stood in the hallway of the shelter, phone still in my hand, screen dimmed, my breath shallow. A few women looked up. One of them, a mother of 2 used to being locked in a laundry room, tilted her head and asked, "You okay?" I nodded. But something inside me had changed, not broken, not shattered, shifted. I stopped crying about what they did, stopped replaying their words, Stopped waiting for an apology that would never come. Not revenge, not yet, but something colder, clearer. I began to think, not about them, about me, about Eli, about what I could build. The pain hadn't disappeared. It just found a new shape, one I could carry, and aim. I started working nights, a local diner on the edge of town. They let me wear Eli in a sling while I washed dishes in the back. Grease on my hands, steam in my face, but it was honest, and it was mine. When the shift ended, I'd walk home through the dark, secondhand stroller, frozen sidewalks. Some nights I cried from the cold, some nights I didn't, but every night I kept moving. I enrolled in GED classes, borrowed textbooks from library bins, studied while Eli napped my fingers, tracing words I never thought I'd need again. I met a volunteer at the shelter used to be an accountant before her husband gambled everything away. She taught me budgeting with a pencil and a paper bag. I listened, took notes, tried, failed, tried again. Each day I carried Eli on one side and my future on the other. Heavy, but possible. One afternoon, taped to the shelter's bulletin board was a flyer. Tech apprenticeship program, 3 months, on-site childcare included. I stared at it for a long time, folded it into my pocket, unfolded it again that night, read every word out loud. The next day, I applied. No resume, just a handwritten form and a note from the shelter director. They called me back. Interview 1, then 2, then 3. Each time I brought Eli. Each time I sat straighter, spoke clearer, let them see I wasn't just surviving, I was learning. On the last day, they handed me a folder. Welcome to the program. I held it in both hands. Didn't speak, just nodded. Outside, Eli giggled in the stroller. The sun hit his face. He reached for a leaf, and for the first time in years, I let myself believe this might actually work. On Eli's first birthday, we went to the park, just the two of us. No cake, no guests. I brought my phone, snapped one photo, me holding him, his cheek pressed to mine. No tags, no caption, just a quiet moment we had earned. I posted it, didn't think much of it, just wanted to mark the day. An hour later, my phone buzzed. A private message. Amanda. Wow. Still trying to look like a saint. So fake. Her words were sharp. Predictable. I didn't reply, didn't need to. That message told me everything. They were watching, not worried, not sorry, just waiting to be proven right, that I would fall, that I'd come back. Beg. I smiled, not because it was funny, but because they would never get what they were hoping for. By the time Eli turned 2, we had a small apartment, 1 bedroom, thin walls, quiet neighbors. I labeled our food with sticky notes, hung his drawings on the fridge, folded his socks on the same table where I once begged for help. The gas bill still made my stomach twist, but I was making it. 1 shift, 1 class, 1 breath at a time. What they didn't know, what no one knew, was that I had started keeping records. Not revenge, not rage, just truth. Every voicemail, every letter, every witness who remembered how I arrived at the shelter, limping, bleeding, silent. I made a folder, a timeline, a digital journal with names, dates, screenshots, everything. Not to sue them, not to shame them. I didn't want headlines. I wanted clarity. I wasn't planning to fight them. I was planning to outlive them. With proof and silence. It happened 3.5 years later. I was in the break room at work, cup of vending machine coffee in hand, watching Eli build a train track under the table. He was humming, focused, safe. The receptionist peeked in. "There's a man on the line asking for you," she said. "Says it's urgent." I hadn't heard his voice in years, but I knew it instantly. My father. "Your sister's in trouble," he said. No greeting, no pause. "She's at the hospital. She had a breakdown." I said nothing. He kept going. "Your mother's hysterical. We've been trying to reach you for hours." Still, I didn't speak. "She kept saying your name," he added. "Said she needed you." There it was. The hook. The plea, the rewrite of history. And for the first time in my life, I felt absolutely nothing. I ended the call without a word. 10 minutes later, a text came from an unknown number. It was Amanda. Short, shaky. "Please come. Please." I stared at the screen. Didn't blink, didn't breathe, just stared. For a second, just one, I almost cried. Then I remembered. The porch, my knees on the tile, the door slamming behind me. I remembered her laugh, her voice through the window. "This is why nobody loves you." I remembered the voicemail. "You had no right to bleed all over our porch." I remembered Eli's first breath. No flowers, no family, just beeping monitors and Martha's hand on mine. And I typed one line back. "You told me I ruined everything. I didn't want to ruin your recovery." Then I turned my phone off for a week. When I turned my phone back on, the messages didn't stop. Emails, voicemails, long ones, desperate ones, some angry, some pretending. One from my mother, pages long, dramatic, every sentence dipped in sugar and guilt. She wrote, "We were confused during that time. Your sister was under a lot of stress. We're not perfect, but we tried." I scanned the words, looked for Eli's name. Nothing, not even once. Then buried in the middle, like it was just a detail, "We're selling the house, the porch, the place I was dragged from, where no one opened a door," she added. "The buyer asked if you could come sign something for the historical family record. Your birth certificate is framed in the study." As if that meant anything, as if that erased it all, as if I should be honored to walk through those halls again. That night I didn't sleep. Eli snored softly beside me, one arm around his stuffed turtle, safe, unaware. I stared at the ceiling, thinking about that house, the chipped paint on the stairs, the cold doorknob, the silence. They wanted me back, but only for show, only to make the ending neat, tidy, forgivable. I thought about the certificate, framed like an award, proof I existed, but not that I mattered. If I went, it wouldn't be for them. It wouldn't be for peace. It would be for me. My silence wasn't weakness. It was power. And if I returned, it would be on my terms. No apologies, no explanations, no performance, just presence. Sharp and still, like a held breath before thunder. I didn't tell anyone I was going. No text, no post, no warning, just a black coat and quiet shoes. I left Eli with a neighbor, packed nothing but my keys, my ID, and a folded piece of paper in my purse. When I arrived, the house looked smaller, faded, shrunk, like time had peeled the shine away. My mother opened the door. Tight smile, voice too sweet. "Come in." "We weren't sure you'd actually come." My father stood by the stairs, hands in his pockets, pretending he didn't see me flinch when I stepped over the threshold. Amanda was in the corner, eyes rimmed red, shoulders slouched. She didn't speak. I didn't either, not yet. "I came for the certificate," I said. That was all. No hugs, no soft eyes, just truth. They led me to the study, like a tour guide walking someone through a museum they never built. The study smelled the same. Old carpet, furniture polish, paper gone yellow at the edges. There it was, centered on the wall, framed behind glass, my birth certificate, my name, my weight, the date I entered a world that didn't want me. I stared at it. Let the silence settle, let them wait, let them wonder. "Why did you want this?" I asked, my voice calm, even. "For the new owners," my father said. "Just thought you might want a memory," my mother added, as if it were kindness. I stepped closer, took the frame off the wall, removed the certificate carefully, folded it, slipped it into my purse. Then I reached inside my coat, pulled out a different paper, black and white, a photo. Amanda on the porch, smiling, phone in hand, me in the background curled in pain. I placed it inside the frame, hung it back on the wall, exactly where the certificate had been. They didn't move, not a word, not a breath, just stillness. My mother's face went pale. My father's mouth twitched like he wanted to speak but couldn't find a sentence that would land. Amanda looked away, fast, like the photo burned. "That's the memory," I said, not loud, not angry, just true. No one answered, no apology came, no reaching arms, only that same old silence, but this time it belonged to me. I turned toward the door. No one stopped me. No one followed. Before leaving, I looked once more at the frame, her smile frozen, my pain undeniable. Let them explain it to the new owners. Let strangers ask who the girl on the ground was. Let the house hold the truth they spent years trying to bury. Then I walked out, head high, lighter than I'd ever felt. That night, I didn't tell Eli. We ate dinner like always. Mac and cheese, Carrot sticks, water in plastic cups. He told me about a squirrel he saw from the window, how it ran across the fence like it was in a race. I listened, smiled, laughed when he did, but said nothing about the visit. No stories, no photos, no explanations. He didn't ask where I'd been. Didn't need to. His world was whole, safe, soft. After dinner, I gave him a warm bath, wrapped him in a towel that smelled like clean cotton and sleep. We read 2 books, one about a bear, the other about clouds. He asked which cloud I liked best. The kind that looks like a turtle, I said. He nodded, eyes heavy. And just before drifting off, he whispered, I think they live in the sky. I kissed his forehead, turned off the light, and for once left the past exactly where it belonged. I sat by his bed for a while, watched his chest rise and fall, his small hand curled around that turtle. His world still untouched by theirs. I thought about the house, the photo, their faces when they saw it, how none of them said a word, and I didn't need them to, not anymore. Let them live with the silence I left behind. Let them walk past that frame every time they visit what used to be their pride, because silence, when built on truth, rings louder than screams. I looked at Eli, his hair damp, his cheeks soft, his breath steady. This was my legacy, not their approval, not their forgiveness, not even their memory. Just him, just this. A quiet life made from nothing but will. And laughter, his laughter, the only sound that ever really mattered. The next morning, sunlight spilled across the floor. Eli was still asleep, one foot kicked out from the blanket, his turtle beside him. I made coffee, stared out the window. The world looked the same, but I wasn't. I thought about everything I carried, the letters, the voicemails, the weight of their silence. I never shouted my story, never posted rants, never named names. But I didn't need to. That house would do it for me, that photo on the wall, frozen in truth, unedited. Every time someone walked by it, a guest, a realtor, a stranger, they'd ask, what happened here? And maybe, just maybe, they'd hear something behind the answer. Not words, not noise, but a kind of silence that doesn't forget, that doesn't forgive, that never lets go. Let them live inside that quiet. Let them feel what I did, every day. I sipped my coffee and smiled, because they would never escape the sound I never made. The days after felt still. No new messages, no letters, just space. I cleaned the apartment, folded Eli's shirts, wiped jelly from the counter, watered the plant in the window. No one knew what I'd done. Not the neighbors, not the women at the shelter, not even Eli. It didn't need an audience, just breath, just peace. At the park, Eli pointed at birds and asked if they were having a meeting. I told him yes. They probably were. He ran in circles, laughed, fell, got up again. We shared a sandwich on a bench. He gave me the bigger half. I pretended not to notice. It was a simple day. No noise, no past creeping in, only the quiet earned and held, and for the first time, I believed it might last. That night, after Eli fell asleep, I checked my messages. Nothing new, just old names in unread threads. I opened Amanda's profile. She hadn't posted in months, but her stories, they were still watching mine. Viewed, silently, consistently. My mother's name popped up too, anonymous account. Obvious from the handle, still trying to look without being seen. They didn't reach out again. No more pleas, no more guilt, just quiet eyes behind screens. But I felt them. Hovering, waiting for me to slip, to need them, to return. I wouldn't. Their silence now wasn't mine to carry. Let them wonder. Let them question who I'd become. I didn't owe them updates, didn't owe them my joy, only the distance they once forced between us. And I gave it to them, every day, with intention, with grace. At night, after dishes were done, after Eli was asleep, I opened my laptop. Quiet clicks in a quiet room. I kept the folder updated, scanned letters, saved voicemails, labeled each file by date and voice, screenshots of texts, even the ones that started please and ended with blame, especially those. I added notes, context, details, only I would remember what I was wearing, how Eli was sleeping in the next room. I wasn't building a case, not for court, not for the internet, but for me. To remind myself that I hadn't imagined it, that it happened, all of it. Pain has a way of blurring. Gaslight turns memory to fog, so I built structure, clarity, proof, Every cruel word had a place, every kindness too. The truth laid out in full, undeniable. Not for revenge, for record, for healing. Didn't post it, didn't publish, didn't send it to anyone, just saved, backed up twice. The power wasn't in exposing them. It was in knowing I didn't need to. That truth was mine, untouched, unedited, fully remembered. Every time I opened the folder, I didn't feel anger. I felt distance and strength. They would never get the version they wanted. The messy collapse, the desperate call, the apology whispered through tears. Instead, they got nothing, not even my voice. Only silence, and the life I built inside it. I stopped waiting for them to fix it, to say it right, to feel sorry. They'd already shown who they were, and I had nothing left to prove, only to protect. Eli slept soundly in the next room, and that was all the noise I needed. I knew it would happen. I just didn't know it when. The day they'd need something, and remember I was still here. It came on a Tuesday. The sky was overcast. I was on break, Eli, playing under the table with a crayon. A call came in. Number unknown, but my body recognized it before my mind did. I answered. A breath. Then my father's voice. "We need your help," he said. His tone wasn't angry, it was tired, unfamiliar. "There's paperwork about the house sale. They said you need to sign. It has your name on it." I didn't ask questions, didn't offer anything, just listened. He paused. "You're still part of this family." I said nothing. He waited, and in that pause I heard it all, the fear, the need, the regret he'd never say. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I ended the call, then stood up and picked a blue crayon off the floor. I didn't rush. Took 2 days. Finished work, packed a clean shirt and Eli's lunch. I left him with a neighbor, kissed his forehead, tucked his turtle under his arm. He barely stirred. Then I went. The house looked smaller than before, or maybe I had just grown. I walked up the steps, the same ones I bled on. My mother opened the door. She didn't smile. She didn't frown. Just opened. No hugs. No welcome. Just a clipped, "They're in the study." I walked past the hallway. The framed photos. My name nowhere in sight, as always. Amanda sat in the corner. Thin, pale. She didn't meet my eyes. I didn't ask how she was. She didn't ask why I came. Some silences stay earned. I took out the document. Signed my name. 1 stroke. "Done. I'll keep a copy," I said. And for the first time, they didn't argue. Before I left, I walked once more into the study. No one followed. No one spoke. The photo still hung there. Amanda laughing. Me on the porch. Truth behind glass. I stood in front of it. Let the silence settle like dust in an old room. Heavy, honest still. My mother appeared in the doorway, her voice thin. "You didn't have to do that." I turned to face her. "I did," I said. Calm, clear, final. She didn't reply, just stared at the floor, as if the carpet might rewrite the past if she looked hard enough. I walked past her. My father stood in the hall, eyes narrowed. He opened his mouth, then shut it again. I didn't wait. I didn't look back. I didn't soften. That photo would stay. Let them explain it to every future guest who dared to ask. That evening, I picked Eli up just before sunset. He ran into my arms, sticky from juice, grinning like the sky had waited for him. We walked home slowly. No rush, no noise. Just our feet and the sound of leaves underfoot. At dinner, he asked me, "Did you see any turtles today?" I smiled. "Not yet, but maybe later." After his bath, we curled up on the couch. The window was open and the sky was painted in soft gold. "Do you think," he asked, "if we counted them like stars, there'd be turtles in the sky?" I looked at him, his wonder, his gentleness, his eyes so much like Daniel's. I think I whispered there might be more turtles than stars. He laughed, bright, free, whole. And that sound, that small, perfect sound, was louder than anything they'd ever said to me. It filled the room. It filled my chest. And I knew I had everything I needed. After Eli fell asleep, I sat by the window. Lights off, night pressing gently against the glass. I didn't reach for my phone, didn't check if they'd messaged, didn't care. The house was behind me now. The frame, the porch, the voices that only knew how to take. They had their silence and I had mine. But mine was made of peace, not fear. I thought about everything I'd carried, not just pain, but the strength to hold it and not pass it on. Eli would grow up never knowing that porch, never hearing those words, never doubting his worth. One day he might ask why we left, why we never went back, and when he does, I'll tell him this. We came from a place that didn't know how to love loud, so I made sure you'd never have to wonder if you were wanted. That will be enough. More than enough. The next morning, Eli woke up early, climbed into my bed with cold feet and sleepy eyes. He curled beside me, head on my arm, and whispered, "Can we stay like this forever?" I didn't answer right away. Just pulled the blanket up, kissed his hair, and listened to his breathing. Outside, the world moved on. Cars passed, birds sang, but inside we were still. No ghosts, no weight, just warmth and a boy who knew nothing but love. They may still be watching, still waiting, still whispering to people who never asked. But none of it reaches us. Not here, not anymore. Because the loudest thing I ever did was choose quiet and build a life inside it. One they'll never touch. Let them walk through that house. Let them see the photo. Let them hear the silence they once handed me. Because now that silence is theirs to carry, and mine is full of laughter. If this story stayed with you even just a little, tell me what part echoed in your own life. I'd love to hear it. And if you believe in stories that turn pain into strength, quiet into power, don't forget to subscribe. There's more to come, more voices, more truth, and maybe even a little more hope.